video is on why it's okay to slut shame. The reason that it is okay to slut shame is because you are superficial. Straight up. You dress a certain way, dressing sexy. You notice the word sex is in there. You're not doing that for you. If you were doing it for you, you'd do it in your bedroom and it would stay in the bedroom. You're doing it for attention. How can you tell if somebody's narcissistic? They dress sexy. Too bad there isn't a way to pause this because I really want to go hunt me down part of a tobacco. You dress that way. You go out into public and you're trying to find a suitable mate. And some dude who is attractive is an absolute hound about your attention. I mean, it's obvious to everyone there, including yourself, that he's only after sex. But then again, so are you. That's why you dress that way. And the proof positive is how you are eating up his negative attention. And it is negative attention because he is only after one thing. But also, that's what you are advertising. Now, I understand there are those of you who are going to go out of your way to say, oh, well, you're saying it's okay to rape somebody because they dress that way. No, not even close. Rape is never okay. You're not advertising for rape. You're advertising for sex. There is a big difference. You want consensual sex. You want that man to find you attractive enough to want to have sex with you. And that should be okay, right? Absolutely. Except for the fact that you shame people. When you dress like that, and that fat dude gives you some attention, or that ugly dude, or that bald dude give you attention, how do you treat them? Oh my God, that creeper's looking at me. But only attractive men are allowed to find you attractive? That's gross. That's superficial, and that's why you should be slut shamed. If a dude can basically be a whole bunch of shitty one-liners to you because he's attractive, and a guy who's fat can't say hello without you assuming that he's only after sex, well, you should be slut shamed. All that guy did is say hello. Now, yeah, I get it. There's a difference between saying hello and saying hello. But which are you getting? Now, when I was on Pearl Street, one of the most common things that you hear out of the street people, and there's a reason for this, they say, thank you for keeping Boulder beautiful. Now, why do those people say that to you? Because you're going to smile. Most of the time, you're going to smile. You still like that attention, even if it's out of a street folks. But then I see that depending on how that street person looks, your reaction is going to be different, just like with anyone else. If he's an attractive homeless person, you might have a one-night stand with him. You might even take him home with you, but you're not going to keep him. Now, if it's an attractive dude who's dressed up in a suit and tie and all of that, you might take him home to mom. Meanwhile, he's just as superficial as you are. And then there's the fact that when you're mean to a dude, he's not allowed to defend himself. He just has to take your meanness, depending on how he looks. If he's an attractive guy, I do mean this literally, an attractive man can rape you and get away with it. That has happened many, many occasions where a guy who is attractive rapes a woman. And then there's all these little girls who are in love with this dude because he's physically attractive. Like, oh, he'd never do that. He'd never do that. You are such a bitch. You are such a slut. Girls are superficial. We teach them to be. We teach men to be superficial too. But then the rules are different depending on how you look and how much money you have. That fat dude doesn't get away with basically talking to you like you're a slut. Like that dude who you're throwing yourself at does. He talks to you like you're a slut. He talks to you like you're a piece of meat. And then when that superficial piece of shit gets bored with you and gets tired of you and throws you away, you want to complain that he used you for exactly what you were advertising. You were advertising sex. You went out and got a man who is only interested in sex. And then you say men are only interested in one thing. Really? For sex, and when you expect, don't just slut shame the man who you were literally throwing your vagina at. You shame all men as if all men had treated you the way that that man who you threw your vagina at treated you. You threw your vagina at him. He hit that vagina like playing baseball. You threw it at him and he swung at it. But then he's a bad person because he gave you what it is that you wanted, what you specifically went out there to get, and you enjoyed it. You may have enjoyed him for 6 months or a year, but then you're both superficial. So you're bickering about superficial stuff, and then it's over with. And instead of being an adult about it and recognizing that, hey, you went out there for a sexual relationship, you had a sexual relationship, and when you expected more and didn't get it, then you blame him. It's all his fault for not giving you what you wanted. But then again, are you going to take it out on him? No, you're going to take it out on that fat guy. You're going to take it out on that homeless guy. If you got a friend of yours who's unattractive and your other guy friends who are attractive don't like him, they say, oh, dude, you're so ugly. You probably can't get it even if you had to rape somebody. You couldn't get sex if you had to pay for it. You are so mean to them. And you know what? It's not just like that for the boys, it's that way for the girls too. If you're not an attractive female, people are mean. Now, if you've got a pretty girl, yeah, you can push her to suicide pretty easily. She is used to getting 200 or 300 people telling her how cute and how pretty and how hot and how sexy she is every day on her selfies. Hundreds of people telling her how attractive she is. You're so hot, you're so pretty, you're so cute, you're so sexy. But you treat her how you're treated. You give her a small taste of what you're treated like, and her self esteem drops out the bottom of that tank, don't it? And then you're a terrible person for treating her the way that you're treated, aren't you? And then all of her buddies who only care about her because of the way that she looks are constantly showering her with free attention. She doesn't have to pay for this attention. Train and her free drinks. Train. She's not paying for those drinks like the ugly girl is, or the ugly dude is. Pretty girls get free stuff. That's how most guys are supposed to. How we teach them that they're supposed to tell you that they like you. Here's some flowers. Oh, I don't care about flowers. What am I supposed to get you? Chocolate? No, I don't like chocolate. Just give me money. I want this and I want that. Okay, okay, okay. Well, that right there doesn't make you a slut. That makes you a whore. Sorry, prostitute. I meant prostitute. You will have sex with a man to have a roof over your head. That's still prostitution. What were you going to spend that money on? Roof over your head. You have sex with a man for drugs. Well, what would you have spent the money on? Drugs. You're just cutting out the government. You're just cutting out the cotton paper. It's still the same trade that it's always been. Prostitution is the oldest trade on the planet. Did you know that? Prostitution. Now, when a guy doesn't do what you want or he's unattractive, you treat him like it's all about sex. You're all about sex, but you're going to shame him like he's all about sex. Meanwhile, he's not after sex. Has shown you no interest in anything sexual. When he comes to you saying, hey, your friends are being mean to me, I want it to stop, you treat him even worse. With Natalie, she was all fucked up on drugs. Many of you are fucked up on drugs. Over half of the people who offered to help me have admitted to me that they're addicts. They're heroin addicts. They're meth addicts. And a lot of them are alcoholics. There's a few people that I called up, because they were offering to help. And I called them up and they were drunk. It's okay though, right? We talk about the evils of alcohol, but it's legal, so it must be okay. Meanwhile, the way that you treat people when you're drunk is not okay. Your wants are all that matters when you're drunk. If you are drunk and you want another drink, that's all you care about. You are one track minded. If you're drunk and you want sex, that's all you want. You are one track minded. If you're drunk and you want to drive 30 miles away, you've got a one track mind. That's what you're going to do. You're one track minded. That's how Chance ended up dead, by the way. Drinking and driving. But meanwhile, it's okay, isn't it? It's okay to shame people who are unattractive as if they want what you want. No, what you're doing is projecting. All of the people who treated me like shit over Natalie, pretending that it was about sex. Hell no. It was never about sex, at least not for me. Maybe for her it was. Maybe for her sister it was. But not to me. Meanwhile, I got their druggy friends, and meanwhile, if you notice, no meth in me, ever. No meth on any of the PT tests that I've taken. No meth in any of my blood tests. Do you know why? Because I don't do meth. There's no heroin in it either. Who are the ones who are on drugs? Natalie and Alicia. Oh, yeah, and their dad who raped them. Meanwhile, he still had meth, so Alicia still got in the vehicle with him and was traveling between Oklahoma and Kansas City. What are the chances that she's having sex with him for those drugs? They're actually pretty good. There's actually a pretty good chance that Alicia Bollinger was having sex with her dad for those drugs. Now, do I know that for sure? No, I'm not there. I don't want to be anywhere near either one of those two. I personally believe that both of them belong in prison, where they can't harm anyone else. But they do belong in prison. But Alicia's pretty, so it's okay. Her dad has drugs, so it's okay. It's not okay to slut shame sluts, but it's okay to slut shame ugly people. It's okay to pretend that they're only after sex, meanwhile, you're only after sex. Or in that particular case, drugs. Most of the people that I know with kids only got pregnant because they were on drugs or they were on alcohol. I know people who can't stand their ex. A lot of people who can't stand their ex. But then they get drunk and they have sex with their ex. And then they end up with another kid on the way. And that happens often. I can't stand my ex. I can't stand my ex. I can't stand my ex. And then they come over drunk as a skunk one night. Still friggin' drunk. Yeah, dude, I fucked up. What do you mean? I had sex with my ex. I'm gonna lay down. I need some sleep. That sucks. It does. But that's the thing. Drugs and alcohol make you do stupid stuff. And then there's the people who say, well, you can't blame it on the drugs. You can't blame it on the alcohol. You chose to put that in you. Well, I didn't. I didn't choose to put those drugs in me. I didn't choose to put that alcohol in me. And as a result, I didn't have any drugs or alcohol in me until after Natalie was killed. And police wanted to do fucked up shit because of slut shaming. Because you wanted to assume that that's all I was after. You wanted to assume the worst in me. You wanted to do things that are illegal and immoral, dear officers. And then you wanted to use the medical community to cover up your crimes. And I'm used to that. I've seen it hundreds of times just in Boulder, Colorado, where police victimize the homeless and the general public eats it up. You hate the homeless. You don't want to see poverty. You don't want to see ugly. You only want pretty people in your city. You should be slut shamed. Absolutely. I'm also going to say that it's never okay to rape anybody. Ever. It doesn't matter if they're a man or a woman or a boy or a girl. Rape is wrong. Dressing like you want to get laid does not mean it's okay to rape you. If you dress up and walk past 100 men and you're dressed like you want to have sex, and you find a guy that you want to have sex with, and you go home with him and you have sex with him, that is okay. But it's not okay to shame people for looking at you when you dressed specifically to get looked at. You specifically dressed that way to get looked at, to get attention. Sure, the fat guy gave you some attention too. Sure, the ugly guy gave you attention too. They're creepy. They're creepy. No, they're fat and ugly. That's not creepy. That's human. We're not all supermodels. We're not. And then, there's the loyalty of stupid, like Nova Wilma. She is very dumb. Every time that she tells Jamie Curtis that she's attracted to somebody, Jamie Curtis will go give that person, at least give him a blowjob. Like, haha, I can get it and you can't, Nova. But she doesn't go throw it in Nova's face. She just has the self satisfaction of knowing that she did it. With Miss Jerry. Miss Jerry's a slut, straight up. She always has been, but I've always accepted it. If she wants to have sex, that's fine. I also knew that the thing that she finds most offensive is slut shaming. That's because she's a slut. No biggie. So she doesn't think that it's okay to slut shame people. But at the same time, the things that I find offensive, the things that hurt me, when she chose to do those things, the first thing I did was jump to slut shaming. Yeah, damn right I did. And I am proud of it. If you're going to go out of your way to treat me completely like shit, knowing full well that you're only doing it to be fucking mean, only doing it because you know that it's hurtful, don't be a stupid cunt when you get it back. Having a set of tits does not make it okay to harm somebody for having a set of balls. If it's wrong for them to do it back, it's wrong for you to do it to begin with. If it's okay for one group of people and not for another, then it's really messed up. Now, let me tell you something. If I have a pizza cart and I have some really good smelling pizza, and I go down the Pearl Street Mall with that pizza cart, let's say I only have one slice of pizza to sell the whole day, right? That's the only piece that I have. And I'm going to sell it on Pearl Street. It smells really good. People are going to ask about that pizza. People are going to smell that pizza. People are going to see that pizza. And I'm in a public place going from one end to the other with that pizza. Now, that pizza might be for somebody in specific. I might want to give that piece of pizza to a pretty girlie. And I might not see a pretty girlie that I want to give it to. I might have a homeless person that I want to give it to. But I'm looking for someone to fit specific criteria. If I want to give that pizza up, just like you want to give that vagina up, yes, I understand there are criteria to who you're going to give it up to. Me, if I'm going to give that piece of pizza away, I'm probably going to give it to somebody who's sober. I'm probably going to give it to somebody who's been nice to me before. I'm not just going to necessarily give it to a random stranger. Now, if I have an abundance of pizza, yeah, I might go give out a slice to a little bit of everybody. But it's not going to be based on looks. Now, if they got a beer bottle, then I guess it's kind of about looks. It looks like they've been drinking. They got a beer bottle right there. Does that mean that people who drink shouldn't be allowed to eat? No, it doesn't. means that I want it to go to somebody who's not going to let it go to waste. I've seen a lot of alcoholics just sit there with the food, just let it sit there and sit there and sit there, and then they walk off and that food is still sitting there. Meanwhile, there's somebody else down the street who's been trying to get something to eat for a couple hours. Say, why don't you just go to the food bank? You're homeless. Everything that you have needs to fit into your backpack. That includes the stuff that keeps you from freezing to death. That includes a change of clothes. Everything that you put into that backpack makes it a little bit heavier. Yes, I absolutely believe in slut shaming. 100%. It's not okay to treat a woman like shit because of the way that she dresses. But I'm not going to treat somebody like shit because they smelled the pizza. I'm not going to treat somebody like shit because they looked at the pizza. Especially if I'm walking down the street, I know my pizza smells good. When somebody says, hey, your pizza smells good, I'm going to say thank you, even if they're ugly, even if they're anorexic, even if they're fat. But thank you, it does smell good. I'm not going to treat them like they're creepers for being hungry. And I'm not just going to assume that every person who tells me that my pizza smells good is hungry. When I was on Pearl Street, there was more than once that I went down there with pizza to give out to people. And had people say, hey, that smells really good. You want a piece? No, man, I just ate. Cool. Just because somebody gives you a compliment doesn't mean they're after your vagina. And that goes for both men and women. If you're going to dress sexy, the key word there is sex. The word sex is in that word. If you're going to say that it's not all right for a fat man to look at you when you're dressed like that, but you will let a guy who is attractive shoot his penis at you, throw his penis at you like it's a baseball, and you're going to catch it. That's what you're there for. That's what you went there for. You went there for attention. That's why you wore that nice skimpy dress. That's why you put on that extra perfume and that 10 pounds of makeup. Because you want that attention. It makes you feel good. But that fat guy that you just treated like shit, yeah, you don't deserve to feel good after you treat someone like shit. That's not the dude that you wanted to make you feel good, is it? And you wanted to be creeped out by the fact that he's not good looking. He's not your image of perfection. That guy who's basically shooting his penis at you out of a cannon that you find attractive. You let him throw those one-liners at you for 20 minutes, eating it up, laughing, whatever, and it's fine. But that dude that you encountered right at the beginning, the fat dude, while you were walking down that whole mall with your fucking pizza self, walking down the whole mall, and that dude who was unattractive that you treated completely like shit, that you go telling your friends about, giggling and laughing. Yeah, that fucking fat fucker. Yeah, you're mean, but you don't want people to be mean back. You want to assume that he's after sex. Meanwhile, you're down there looking for someone to breed with. Most of the women I know are at least honest enough to admit that they're more into sex than most of the men they know. Most of the guys I know would date somebody that they wouldn't have sex with. A lot of them just want to cuddle. Terrible, huh? Of course, I know the people who aren't the rich, good looking CU student who just wants to get you drunk, get laid, and throw you away. My mom had a church group Bible study, and it wasn't Bible study. They just talked about sex and how terrible men are. They talked about their favorite sexual positions. They talked about shitting dicks. They talked about all sorts of stuff like that, but they didn't break open their Bibles. And a few of the husbands, the women in that group, they put their foot down. Now, is it those women's choice to go to those groups or not? Absolutely it is. But also, my mom's pretty vulgar. And some of those husbands, after realizing what that church group was really about, were like, hey, that's not Bible study. You're telling me that you want me to be a good Christian husband, and you're not being a good Christian wife. I want you to hold yourself to the same expectations that you're holding me to. And if you can't do that, then we can't have a relationship. Now, my mom, she's got a very weak minded husband. His name is Michael Scott Wade, and he wears the skirt in the relationship, so to speak. My mom can run around having sex with my friends in high school, and that's not cheating. My mom can play a game where she rides around on a dragon, but it's not okay for Scott to have a sword that he got from his brother that has a dragon on the scabbard. When Scott has a video game character that gets married to another video game character, my mom accuses him of cheating, accuses him of being gay, and goes and smashes up his pickup. My mom has sex with that guy that I'm talking about that's a child molester, Andrew Witcher. Yeah, my mom cheated on Scott with Jeff Witcher, Andrew's dad. And Scott just took it because he was a little bitch. I absolutely believe that slut shaming is okay. I do. But I believe that if a woman treats you equally, that's not to say that she goes and has sex with every dude who finds her attractive. That's not that's not what I'm saying. But just because a guy finds you attractive doesn't mean it's okay to treat him like shit. Also, if you don't get what you want, pretending that that guy only wants sex makes you a piece of shit. You deserve to be slut shamed, absolutely. Now, I'm focusing mainly on women in this because I'm a man. I'm a heterosexual male. Although that's not entirely true because I'm not into sex. So I guess just hetero is the word I should use. But I also made sure that I focused on the fact that it's not just men and it's not just women. It's the pretty people and the not pretty people. The rules for pretty people are different than the rules for not pretty people. And yes, there are exceptions to the rule. There's that pretty girl who only wanted one dude, and that one dude was busy off screwing everybody but her. And she has no self esteem now, and she's drop dead gorgeous. But because she only pursued one dude, now she's gonna jump onto the first dude that hits on her. That might be the fat, ugly guy. And he might actually treat her decent. And then you're walking down the street, you hear people whispering and talking shit, and going, how did he end up with her? How did he end up with her? Well, she was only interested in one dude. So instead of two or three guys that were giving her attention, she only paid attention to that one dude. That's all that she cared about. And when she didn't get that one dude, well, she had no self esteem because she'd always been let down. It's not my fault. And I'm glad for the fat dude. Cool. But don't be superficial and then pretend that the people who you are being superficial and treating like shit are the ones who are superficial. Telling people, yeah, you couldn't even get laid fucking if you had to pay for it. You'd have to rape somebody to get laid. I've had sex more than you. Who gives a fuck? You punk ass little bitch. You are a fucking punk ass little bitch. I don't care how many times you've gotten laid. If that's what's important to you, then fine, go get laid. But don't bully me and then play victim. Don't. Now, it was mostly dudes who were treating me like that. I get laid more than you. I don't care. You're so ugly. You're probably a fucking chimo. You look like a chimo. You look like a rapist. Fuck you. Fuck you. You know who looks like a rapist? Ted Bollinger. Because he is a rapist.